Hello, good evening. Welcome to Brothers of MGTOW. I'm your host, a brother of MGTOW, and I'm quite excited today. Um, in this episode 6 or 7, we're going to talk a little bit more about the theory of hypergamy, uh, specifically as it pertains to career women, and I guess sort of ways to break that cycle of hypergamy. In order to do this, I will have to bring up the elephant in the room. I'm not going to say what it is yet. Okay. I really don't want to, but because I don't want to enforce any gender hate on my channel. This channel is about allowing the men to see the truth. Okay. But what I also have now a second purpose for this channel. So obviously, first of all, I want the men to understand the reality of the situation as it pertains to finding relationships, sort of starting relationships beyond friendships and of the like. But I think I find I could double up by making this channel obvious to women as well. Really to instruct them on I guess, the red pill truth. A lot of women will fail to understand this. But really, I want to help men and women who have troubles. Okay? Now, what I'm going to say, especially in this video, may somewhat be a little brutal to take in. You may refuse to take it at all, but I guess you can do what you want. But if you're not going, I guess if you're failing and failing and failing, and you're looking for something to blame, well, only look at yourself. By the way, I got a bit of a flu today, so instead of beer, I got some peppermint tea. Right, that smells nice. Peppermint tea is quite. By the way, peppermint tea. If you ever have a flu or cold symptoms, the best thing to drink is peppermint tea. Avoid Panadol. It just makes you really dizzy. Peppermint tea really lifts you up. Okay, I've been feeling a bit headachy as well. That's part of the flu. I think the sinuses are sort of blocked on both sides, which sort of cause tension up here. So please, peppermint tea, go for it. Anybody who has a flu, please drink this shit. It is awesome. I would also suggest as well for those people who need sort of stress relief, relaxation, and also to help with digestive system whenever you get sort of high gastric acid levels, chamomile tea is the way to go. Let me just drink this. I hate drinking stuff when it's hot, but I have to drink it. That's hot. I'm not worried about the taste of it. I'm just worried about the fact that it's bloody hot. Yeah, okay. You know what? I'm gonna do without my glasses today. I just feel happy to talk about this. I'm in a happy mood to make videos, I guess. Theory of hypergamy. I've explained this numerous times in previous videos, which basically says so consider a woman's SMV, consider a man's SMV on this side. If a woman is at this SMV, theory of hypergamy states that she will only date someone above, not at, not below, above. And the level at which she dates above varies. Mainly, it is quite significantly higher. So if a woman is a 6, she'll only consider a man an 8 or above. Okay, so that's the theory of hypergamy. And in my episode on leftover women in China, we talked about sort of what happens to the less attractive women where, and this really not just goes for lesser women in China. This sort of goes down to the, how do I put it? Just career women in general in Western society. You know, they don't have looks going for them. So in general, so what they do is they sort of increase their SMV by getting an education, which is okay. No, I'm not mistaking their choice. I think, me personally, I do prefer women who actually have an education, whether it be a bachelor's degree. I'm not picky, but I guess the thing with well-educated women is I consider myself an intellect, being a mathematician, doing a PhD, I guess. So I want to be able to have intellectual conversations with a woman. So, what happens is they start increasing SMV, then by the theory of hypergamy, so if let's say a woman is at this level, her pool of men is sort of this big, right? Say that big there. And then what happens is as soon as she raises her SMV, that pool gets very small. And it gets to a point where the standards are just too high. You're weeding out too many guys. Okay? And I proposed a solution for, women who want to look for a good man. And that solution is scrap the theory altogether, or at the very least, date someone at your level. But again, that still weeds out a lot of good men. So I guess the question now becomes, and this is sort of a good question for the women who are watching this video in some near future. Would you consider dating someone who may not have as much money, who may not be as attractive, but he has a very good heart? His potential is, let's say his potential is high. His potential is high, he has a good heart, but right now he doesn't have the looks, money, or status. Okay, would you date someone like that? Or would you date someone that is below you? Comparably in terms of income. Okay? That's question one. I guess the second question I want to ask is sort of repeat with question one. And this really goes for someone like me. If you have been watching me from the very first episode, you know that I have the fuck money, fuck status attitude. I don't care for them. I do the things that I love. I'm passionate. I chase my passions, if that makes sense. And I develop my personality. Okay? So let's say someone who may not look as good, may not be as physically attractive, someone who earns a decent income. We're talking about base standard. Let's not say minimal, but a good personal wage, salary, yearly salary. Okay, so you got someone who is not physically attractive, earns a decent salary, and I'm not worried about status. Okay, but let's just say middle class, just the average man. Talking about just the average of average. Would you still date him if he had a good personality? Okay. Now, if you're a young woman and you say no, understandable. But if you make it to the wall without a man and you still say no, okay, this mainly goes to the post-war. I guess the ones that are rapidly approaching the wall, that are hitting the wall, and that have already smashed through it. If your answer is no, You need to take a long, hard look at yourself. Okay? Now, rip at me all you want. Go to the comment section down below. Criticize me on this. The best of men, okay? These good men you're talking about, we're talking about ones with good personalities. Okay? That's most important. The thing which men look for most is personality. We're looking for compatibility. Okay? In a long-term relationship at least. So we're looking for that woman who personality-wise matches with our personality. Now, if you're so hell-bent at, let's say, in your 30s, to still find that guy, let's say you're 30 years old, 30 plus, you're building a good, successful career for yourself. People admire you for that. Okay? You've got everything going for you. You've got your shit together. Now, now you're saying, I want to find a good man. But what you're doing is, okay, so you say you want to find a good man, but what you're actually doing is you're assessing someone based on his income, his physical appearance. I'm just trying to guess what else. What he does, how he did it. These very exterior, superficial things. Okay? A good man for you is not someone who is good on the exterior. This is why men stay away from women like you. Okay? Men stay away from women like you because you say one thing, you do another. You don't practice what you preach. Why don't you practice what you preach? Scrap the lies. Scrap your promises to people. Instead, I think this goes for men and women in general. Before, and this really, for me, this comes easy because being an introvert, this is what I do best. Before you spit things out of your mouth, I'm talking about words here, not actually spitting. Before you spit words out of your mouth, show through action first. Okay? Show through action. What I mean by that is don't just say one thing and don't just do one thing and then say the opposite. You're on the high road to hypocrisy there. Good men dump you for that, okay? And then you blame them for it. Well, you can't have your cake and eat it too, right? So, my flu is a little bit dodgy today. I only got it this morning. It's like, I'm just trying to get used to fighting the sinus. Okay, so where was I? So we were talking about why good men stay away from these career women, let's say war-ravaged career women who have their shit together. They do deserve a good man. But what you say and what you do happen to be two different things. And good men don't want that. Good men want consistent women. And right now we live in an age where that's a rare trait. That is a rare, very rare trait. We're not talking about 1 in 100 anymore, consistency. I mean, I keep saying 1 in 100 good women, but consistency is one of those super rare traits. Probably 1 in 1,000, probably even less. Okay. Women who, I say 1 in 1 million, probably 1 in 1 million, to be honest. Women who say they want a good man, they will look for a good man. This never happens. I mean, women, please comment. You can rip me in half for this. I'm not going to slam you down. What I'm going to do is offer you constructive criticism. You say you want a good man, but you're looking for someone who earns more than you. You're looking for someone who looks good. I mean, look. First impressions are important. There's no doubt about that. Okay, so really, looks is not something you can in a sense you can work around it in the sense that you should give good men a chance. But here's where things get a little sour for you. You say you're a successful woman, yeah? You earn money. Okay, you earn money. You have a good income. Let's say 6 figures. Okay, 6 figure income. You may own a house. You say you're a successful woman, so you may own a house or rent one, whatever. Okay. What else? If you've got a car, maybe. You have a good lifestyle. That's the main point I want to make. A woman with a good lifestyle, good income, and stuff. My question is this, and if you can give me an answer, a really detailed answer. Okay, if you can. You say you have good income. Why do you need a man with more income to support you? Why do you need a man who earns more than you to support you if you can support yourself? This is the weird question here. This is what drives me away from career women. Don't get me wrong, I like strong independent women. I actually prefer them to the young ones who are immature and stuff like that. I prefer good, strong, independent women over them. I prefer good, educated women. But a lot of these women are sort of saying to themselves, I've got this, I've got everything. I'm at here. Okay? Well, they think they are. If they're war ravaged, they think they are, but they've sold down there. But they're overestimating the SMB. But let's not go down that road yet. Let's say you know. So I'm just trying to remember what I said before. I do have terrible short-term memory. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, so we're talking about women who are successful, who just have a good lifestyle, good income, and stuff like that. Then my question to them is sort of, why do you want a man who has more income than you if you can support yourself? This is the part that doesn't make sense. This is the irrational part. I don't get the rationale behind it. Again, if you want to comment. But most of the time, I'm just going to give you this criticism and this advice. You have your own income. Use that to support yourself. What you need, okay, and this is your mistake. Your mistake is you're looking for someone with more income than you because you think that's more important. But what you need to find, okay, you've got a good career. You got stuff going for you. Increase your dating pool by considering the men who are below you. Okay? Especially those on the way up. You know? those ones that you see have good potential, the ones on the way up, these men will thank you for it later on. In fact, you could build a good lasting marriage based on it. Okay. See, I read this somewhere, and it really speaks volumes to hypergamy, the theory of hypergamy. Women don't want to see men who are on the way up. They want the finished product. It really speaks to hypergamy. It really does. If you only care about the finished product, you know, it's how he got there is not because of you, it's because of him. Why would he want you if all you want is the finished product? To that person, to the man, you're just a gold digger. Okay? Notice how gold digger is a term that is applied very negatively to a woman. Understandable, but I think now we need to use it in a much looser sense. In that women who, in general, this is why I say 99% of women are gold diggers. Okay, and if you're not one, if you say you're not one, you probably are one. Okay. Hypergamy will not stop if you keep shooting for the moon. And this is what women love to do. Women just love to shoot for the moon. And then when shit falls down, they'll just nab the nearest guy. They'll get desperate. No, let's put it that way. I won't say they'll nab the nearest guy, but yeah, that's probably the best way to put it. They'll nab the nearest guy to them and try to con him to marriage. This is why MGTOW exists. MGTOW exists because we men have had enough. I guess this is one of the biggest reasons why MGTOW exists. There's many reasons why MGTOW exists, but one of the biggest ones is we want these women to be held accountable for this theory of hypergamy. Okay? So really the advice I'm trying to give to these women who sort of they've built a good successful income, they've built a good life for them, then why are you worrying about a man who earns more than you or is above you in the career ladder or whatever, or comes from a more wealthy family? Why are you worrying about that if you have a good, successful life? See, what you need now is just someone who will be your emotional support. Okay? That's what you need. You need someone who will be there when times get tough for you. That's what you need. You want to marry that type of man. I I will get ripped in half for this by any woman. Okay? Now for the men who are hearing this, if you want to defend me, if you want to attack me, do whatever you want. I'm going to use rational thought to defend what I'm saying. Okay? You know, women who are sort of that post-war, they've built a career for themselves, should not need to worry about a man who earns more than them, or should not need to find that person. What you need is a good, you say you want a good man. I'll tell you what a good man is. A good man is one that is not going to backstab you, that's not going to cheat on you, that's not going to do this, that, he's not going to mess around. Okay? He's got to be mature in how he handles things. And I guess the thing with maturity, it comes through experience. Okay? I'm talking about life experience. Sexual experience. Should be a life experience. Okay? So, really, I understand women's checklists when it comes to dating. I believe it's a whole load of horse shit. This notion of a woman having checklists for dating. What women need is, I guess, a self-assessment of the type of person they are. Okay, a self-assessment of the type of person you are, and what you believe you can offer to a relationship. Okay, too often good men are driven away by post-war women who have nothing to offer in a relationship apart from just being a woman. So. Oh God, the flu is getting a bit unbearable these days, but I'll try to slave through. Okay. Too often this happens, especially in this generation. It's a generational problem. We have women who have not, I won't say nothing, but little to offer to a relationship. Okay, what you need is self-assessment. Okay, especially to the career women here. You've got a good income, you've got a good career. What's wrong with supporting a man? What is wrong with saying, look, I'm the man's house here. I don't mind finding a man who is willing to be the woman of the house. See, women tend to get intimidated by being the man in the house because they're sort of taught, But here's the problem, and I really don't want to bring this up. I'm gonna say the F word. Okay, the really dread F word. I'm taking my socks off anyway, so don't like me. I'm gonna bring up the really dreaded F word. Feminism. Specifically third wave feminism. Sort of part of most of these last 2 to 3 days that I haven't made a video, what I've done was I watched a lot of videos on Milo Yiannopoulos, who a lot of women will probably hate on. Okay. So this really brings up the issue of gender equality. I'm not going to delve too deep in. I'll just explain sort of where I stand on the issue of feminism. Okay. Now, first thing, being MGTOW does not mean I'm anti-women. Actually, I'm pro-women. My mom's a woman. I love my mom deeply. There's nothing wrong with that, right? I respect my mom. I think, given that what my mom's gone through, I think she's done an admirable job. I have no qualms about anything about her worth as a woman and so on. In fact, I see my mom as a role model for me. Now, here's where, so as I said, I'm pro women. This is the main thing to understand. What I am against, I guess, part of being MGTOW is, and by the way, I believe in gender equality. I think women and men should be equal. There's no doubt about that. But what is happening? So that's sort of second wave feminism. Second wave feminism is gender equality. What we are having now is sort of post second wave. This is called the third wave feminism. So I think we have the 3 waves of feminism. So you've got the first wave of feminism, which is sort of the suffrage movement, freedom for women. Then you have second wave feminism, where we're sort of looking at equality for women. We've passed that. Any woman, any feminist who denies that we are still in the second wave of feminism, she needs to pull her head out of her ass. Okay, we've passed the second wave. We've got gender equality. What's happening now is third wave feminism, where we now have confused the term equality for supremacy. Okay. What's happening now is gender supremacy, especially in women. This is sort of, I'm not going to delve any deeper than that. What is happening is we have a society where women have more power than men. Okay, I'm not going to deny certain truths here. If you want to deny that, comments it down below this video, comment. But any MGTOW will not deny that third wave feminism is all about gender supremacy. Okay, and this is why a lot of men are getting pissed off. Okay, so let's go back to the hypergamy example and sort of relate that to the notion of third wave feminism. So third wave feminism is sort of one way of saying women want to have their cake and eat it too. Okay, they want it both ways. Like when they're given a choice between one or the other, they want both. Women love that, especially nowadays. We've allowed them the freedom to do so, and that's sort of the bad thing. This is why MRA MGTOW is getting popular now. We've had enough. So, by the way, I'm not going to delve any more on that. I want to stay away from that as much as possible. But what I wanted to do is sort of relate that stuff back to the notion of hypergamy in women and why this stuff is troublesome for us. Okay? So, going back to hypergamy, what women want is sort of they want to find a good man. You know, we're talking about women who here, career women who've built themselves up, and now they want to find a good man. They've hit the wall, presumably. Most career women who say they want to find a good man, we assume they've hit the wall. Okay? So they've hit the wall, they're looking for a good man, but their standards are too high. So what's happening is they want, given the choice between, let's say, cake and I don't know, I'm just trying to think. Let's say between cake and chocolate, you know, you can either have one or the other. They want both. They want to be successful and they want to have a good man. Okay? By the way, when I talk about, when I also say something about gender equality, I'll just make this point clear. I'm all for gender equality. You know, women should be equal to men, but there are obviously consequences. Okay, if women want to be equal to men, let them be equal to men, but they need to be held accountable for everything. And this is why I'm making this channel. I'm making this channel so that the women who complain about not finding a good man, as this video pertains to, you need to be held accountable for the choices you make. You need to understand that actions have consequences. Okay? So yeah, where was I? So I was talking about yeah. So between the choice of cake and chocolate, they want both. So they want a man who is successful, the cake. So they are successful, so they've got the cake. You know, they've built themselves up. They got a good life, good income, good job. You know, stable. Just a good life in general. I should just say. So they're successful in their own right. So they've got the cake. They've got the cake. Now they're looking for the chocolate. They're looking for the good man. Right? But they're looking for the best piece of chocolate that's out there. You got to, you know, you got every choice has its consequence. So if you're gonna build that successful career, just know that you're gonna drive away a lot of good men when you say you want, a man who is equally successful or more successful than you, because you're sort of saying now your dating pool is gone from here to somewhere around there, right? What you've sort of shown to a good man, decent person, is that you have automatically disqualified him as a person. You didn't want to get to know the real him, and that's the problem with women. You can't have your cake and eat it too. We men, we've lived with that. We've lived with that for too long. Now, what we need is for women to be held equally accountable for that choice, given the fact that they say they want to be equal to men. We're all for that. Okay. Where the F word has failed is that society has allowed women to have their cake and eat it, but now that's no longer the case. Yes, I just wanted to briefly cover that. So I'm just going to drink more. So really, to sum things up, because I'm heading, my clock says 36 minutes. So I think it's like 36 minutes 30 seconds. Okay, so getting a little tired these days. Yeah, so we talked about hypergamy and the theory of hypergamy. I'm not going to cover that again. And then specifically looking at career women, and especially post-war women who have built their careers up. Okay, who built their careers up to a point where their standards of a good man is just too high to attain. And I sort of suggested, look, yep, that's the reality of the situation. You need to wake up to that. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to keep finding that good man who probably doesn't exist? I've talked about this in another previous video with women sort of who have hit post-war. Let go of the idea of finding the perfect man. No man is ever going to satisfy all your requirements. You need to make compromises. And that's the problem with women. They don't want to compromise. Because what's been ingrained into their head, just the third wave feminism shit, is that they can have their cake and eat it too. Right? They can be perfect and then find the perfect man. It doesn't work like that. What you need is to be good and find a good man. So learn to make compromises on yourself. Okay. So we've talked about sort of women who create their sexual market value to the point where they can't attain a man. I'm just trying to remember where I was. So really, the bet, what I suggested in the previous video, try to date someone who is at or just below. But then I'm sort of thinking, what if you expand that dating pool a little bit? Especially given the fact that you yourself, you're a career woman, you're already successful with your own money. Why do you need a man who earns more than you if you already earn enough to support yourself? I fail to see that logic, And women, we all know women and logic. It's a disconnect. There's a disconnect between women and logic. I mean, they can say, "Oh, my brain." I had this from a girl I dated. "Oh, my brain's wired like a man. I try to see more reason." Women will be women no matter what. Don't buy into that shit. Seriously. Yeah, my brain might be wired like a woman, but I'll tell it like it is. I'm a man. I'll tell it like it is. I'm quite indecisive as a person. I like to be led. But then that's part of me being an introvert. I'm not someone who is, how do I put it? I don't like I don't like the spotlight of being a leader. I like to be behind the scenes, pushing, how do I put it? I make my decisions behind the scenes. I just do what needs to be done. What people want to judge out of that's their issue. That's the type of person I am. So yeah, this is what's happening is we're creating a society of women, career-minded women, which is fine. I don't have anything wrong with career women. I like career women. I wouldn't mind. But the problem is a lot of them just don't make compromises. They still want to find that perfect man, and they won't consider a man that is below them because they feel they're threatened, by it. I guess we're threatened by gold diggers. There's nothing wrong with that. Imagine women who are threatened by male gold diggers. There will be a massive outcry there. And this sort of goes back to women wanting the best of both worlds. It just doesn't work that way. You either have one thing or the other. Learn to sacrifice a little. This is the thing I keep saying, women want to be equal to men. That's fine. Nothing wrong with that. I am all for gender equality myself. But if you want gender equality, you gotta understand that there are consequences. If you want to be treated like in the same way that a man does, that's fine. But if a man is treated in the same way negatively, you got to accept that consequence too. So you can't have your cake and eat it. Just goes back to that point. I'm not gonna delve any more there. I think I've delved too much to feminism. Hopefully that's the last I'll ever talk about it. Okay, but I just needed to make that. I just needed to make that reference because it's very relevant to the theory of hypergamy, and it really helps understand why hypergamy exists in women, at least. Okay, and a lot of MGTOW channels tend to post solutions for men because they think, oh, we can't change the women. And that's a fine approach. I'm just suggesting the alternative, more radical approach, which is sort of to get the women to just lower their standards. I keep saying, women shouldn't lower their standards. They should lower their expectations. I think it's about time women should lower their standards. Really, what I've been harping on about letting go of the dream of finding a good man, finding the one, finding the perfect man. When I think about it, what I really am harping on is about lowering standards. Women are they're too proud sometimes. This is the problem. And this is a message for the men, not the women, by the way. Women just tend to be too proud. I'm not I'm not trying to be anti-women here. I'm just saying, this is their negative trait. They don't know when to swallow their pride. Men, we're forced to do it time and time and time. But women, especially the women nowadays, who, especially with third wave feminism, they claim to want to be equal and superior to men. Learn to swallow your pride too. At the end of the day, the way I look at it, men and women are human beings. Let's treat each other as human beings. Nothing more, nothing less. Okay? That's true equality. We treat each other like a human being. But we've gone to this point, and I think this is really not an eye-opening experience. For those who are purple-pilled MGTOW, please, my suggestion, if you really want to go proper red pill, watch Milo Yiannopoulos. Just watch some of what he says. Say what you want afterwards, but there is a lot of truth to what he says. Don't obviously don't buy into the gender hate. That's not what it's about. What it's trying to say is that we should live in an equal world. We all preach equality, but what's happening now is that we've let the quest for gender equality become now a quest for gender supremacy. That is what third wave feminism is. That's my opinion, at least. God, I hope that's the last time I talk about that. I don't know why I'm harping on about it. It's like the last thing I want to talk about. Really, what I just want to talk about is hypergamy and how we can stop. I'm talking about stopping it in a way. How we can, how women can be more happier, and how men can be happier. If only women just lower their standards. I know you're too proud to do it, but swallow your pride, because you know what? And I'm going to end it with this. By lowering your standards, you may actually find the one. Like, I'm not talking about the one who is perfect, but I'm talking about the one who you are actually going to have a good, long lasting relationship with. One that could last a lifetime, in fact. And that's sort of what's important. Well, isn't that what you want? Isn't that what you want? I'll end it there, guys. For the men, keep doing you, man. Us men, we're awesome. Likewise with you women. There's nothing wrong with you women. You're awesome as you are. You just need to understand that if you want to build your career, what you're sacrificing is an opportunity to find good men. And when you start complaining, all you can do now, the rational thing to do is lower your standards. Swallow your pride. Just lower your standards. That doesn't mean open yourself up to drug cheats and druggies, serial cheats, what else? Criminals and stuff. Don't open your door to them. No, that's not what we're looking for. What you're looking for is open yourself up to the guys that most girls would overlook. The simple, kind-hearted man, the gentle soul that no one ever gives a chance. You may never know. He may surprise you. That's who I am, I guess. Yeah, I'm done. Yeah, have a good night, guys. I'll probably make another one on Saturday or Sunday. Doesn't matter which one. Hopefully, my flu gets a bit better. I'll be on the pisser again. Quite happy. I get sad when I drink alcohol. Maybe, I don't know. Yeah, who cares? I'm harping on too much. Good night, guys. The men, Big Tower.